Dave, I welcome you on our program. It's nice having you. Dave, we can safely say that diving is a safe activity. I mean, thousands of dives happen every month in Malta and millions of dives happening all over the world, and the incident rate relatively is very small. Mm-hmm. So you said when we were talking before, you said it's the 10th. What did you say about the?
I don't believe it's even in the top 10 of dangerous sports in the world. I think horse riding kills more people each year worldwide than actually diving, scuba diving accidents. All sports have an inherent risk with them.
There is some risk involved, and every activity has to be done carefully. Use your common sense and use your training and your knowledge. And this is where you said you were diving. You have been diving for how much? 25, 30 years in Malta?
I've been diving as beautiful island 25 years.
In Malta?
In Malta. I've been resident for the last 8 years and professionally teaching for the last 8 years in Malta.
And have you ever come to a close shave all these years?
The sea is ever changing and you can get caught out. You can look a perfectly calm day and go out and find a current. A current can be very strong. You have to know all the conditions and obviously have a plan to come out safely of any conditions you might find. We can all get caught out. The sea is not a tame beast.
You always have to treat your dive as your first dive. This is my way of thinking. I've been diving for 40 years here, and let's say I've never had a close shave. Mm-hmm. Let's say I hardly ever come with a close shave. And I've explored new shipwrecks, 9 of them, so it's not like I was going with somebody who knew the wreck before me. And yet, I can safely say that, I can easily say that diving is relatively safe. But you hear sometimes on the newspapers incidents happening. For example, people are rescued off, for example, Blue Grotto when the sea is rough, for example. Mm-hmm. If I was diving, a local diver, a Maltese diver, would not perhaps done the dive because say, okay, I can do it another day. But a foreign diver, he's in the water. Is it perhaps because he's got 1 week here and he wants to put in as much dives as possible? You are very much close to foreign divers, not like me. I don't.
It could be possible. That could be an element of it. Also, they lack local knowledge. Yeah. I mean, obviously, a place like the Blue Grotto, you have the valley, so the valley might look quite calm. It doesn't show the conditions outside, and it's very, like I say, it's very easy to get caught out with the sea. Local knowledge will tell you by looking outside what sort of conditions you can expect to find underwater, and obviously having that knowledge, if it looks too bad, you'll turn around and not dive there. You'll always find an alternative dive site in Malta.
And you can easily do that in Malta?
Oh, for sure. We live on an island, so somewhere the sea will be flat, whichever way the weather's going.
For example, once I experienced a situation where I went diving, the sea was relatively good. 45 minutes later, when I ended the dive and when I was coming up, the sea was really kicking hard. I said, yes, wow, that could have been a situation where an accident could have happened. Of course, I mean, you have to foresee your problems. You don't just, I always say that problems, you have to foresee them. If you think that they will come, try to avoid them before you are in the problem. This is where
professionally, any site what I potentially take customers to, the first thing I will do is assess if things go wrong, how will I get out? If the weather kicks up, have I still got an exit? I cannot get out of this exit, can I get out of that exit? It's all part of the on-site check as soon as you get there. Obviously without that local knowledge or having where the ladder is down here or the slipway there, it's very easy to get drawn into a situation where things could go wrong.
How important? I mean, you're stressing that the importance of accompanied diving. If you are a good diver, perhaps you dive in the UK, you dive in Germany, your local dive sites. Come to Malta, you still need somebody to show you around. You need to go in the company of some local knowledge. And this is where you come in, you as instructors.
I believe it would be very foolhardy to come here and do some of the dive sites without any knowledge. We get a lot of returning divers, and over the years, myself, the first 15 years diving in Malta, I returned year after year, and slowly I got to know the sites, so I done independent diving. But it was knowledge I'd gained. I think it'd be very foolhardy for someone to come along and start diving without that knowledge in first hand. And it's very simple. There are several guides on the island, and every one of them very good who can take you to these places safely.
Could it be that when somebody, a foreign diver come to Malta, you see nice flat sea, clean water, good visibility, nice deep drop-offs, could it be that he could be underestimating the dive itself, because you see everything so perfect, and then, oh, this is so perfect at home, we have so much visibility, we don't have this, we don't have tides here in Malta, but overseas you have tides. You have so less problems, geological problems, geomorphological problems, physical problems, than you have, away from Malta. That's sometimes you underestimate. You underestimate the dive, and you thought, oh, it's nothing, I can do this easily.
I believe it would be very easy to get into the holiday mood,
yeah,
and think, oh, this is easy, I've done a couple of dives, it's very easy, I'll push the limit. And perhaps some people may want to push the limit a bit further than they should. You should always know your limit.
Overstay your bottom time.
Overstay your bottom time, do something. Never push your limits. Accept what your limits are and stick to those limits. There's always another day to go diving, and perhaps a couple more dives you can push it a little bit further.
It could also be a group, for example, where you have a group of divers and one or two people who feel a little bit uncomfortable, but they would be kind of look silly to say, oh, I'm not going to dive because...
The peer pressure, yes.
The peer pressure. That could be a factor that
For sure, yes. Please, don't ever succumb to peer pressure. Know your limits and stick to your limits. It's very important. That's where the things can go wrong if you're pushing your limits and your capabilities. So please stick to your limits. It's for sure.
Of course, you will never know how accidents happen, because we never have these incidents reports. And I wish that in Malta the authorities publish incident reports. At least you will get to know not who was involved. We don't really want to know, but we really want to know what happened. And as you were saying before, it is from these mistakes that people, other divers, can learn.
If we can't analyse the mistakes we make, how can we correct them? We need a tool. Yes, we need a tool to analyse what goes wrong with these mistakes people are making. And if we see a trend of the same, then perhaps we can rectify it. It's something going wrong. But unless we have this information at hand, you can carry on making the same mistakes.
But in the UK, for example, you have the
British Aqua Club actively support you. Any dive instance, they actively support you reporting them. And at the end of the year, they'll actually publish the accident report data. And it can only help. It's a tool to make our sport even safer, yes?
Yes. One other thing is the gas management, the problem of gas management, and orientation and getting lost. We had people get lost. Sometimes they get lost in caves. We had cases where they got lost in a shipwreck. Again, this comes up to knowledge, I should believe. So that is the solution of all these things. Gas management. Sometimes you overstay your dive. You lengthen your dive more than it should have been, and you run out of air, and then you've got your problems too. Obviously, you need to surface. Then you've got your decompression to do as well. So I think this boils down to training and use your common sense. No,
it's discipline. Even as an individual or in groups, you need discipline to go scuba diving, and you must set your discipline and have your limits. You know your turnaround point when your consumption of your gas, your breathing. And you must stick to that. Don't keep pushing the envelope. You can go back the next day and dive, or the next time you're here. It will be there. Don't keep pushing your limits. You know what they are.
So I will ask you your last tips for whoever is coming to dive coming to Malta for diving, the foreign divers.
On a very personal note, what I'd like to see is the one thing you need before anyone starts scuba diving is fitness to dive.
Yeah.
It's number one important thing. In Malta, anyone coming for recreational scuba diving are given a self-declaration medical form.
Right.
I would like to take people to take a little bit of extra time, read every single question,
Take it seriously.
and be very honest. Be very, very honest on that form. It's not a big problem if they tick a box and say, yes, we can get a diving medicines doctor to come in and check everything is okay. But they're actually not fooling anybody apart from themselves by perhaps not being honest on them forms.
Yeah, because sometimes you hear of, a 27-year-old diver who is fatally, there's a fatal accident in diving, then there's a 60-year-old woman or 70-year-old woman. Sometimes there is the medical factor, which if it happens underwater, it looks like it's a diving accident, when actually it's a medical condition,
For sure.
which happened, could happen anywhere,
Yes, yes.
really.
Yes.
Could have happened when you are driving the car. What happens in the water, and it's put down as a diving accident. That's a bit unfortunate, obviously, even for the sport of diving, because obviously it increases the incident rates. But as you said, if you are honest with with your physical conditions, if you're not fit so much, take it easier, especially if you spend the winter at home not diving, then you can book a holiday to Malta. You're here with a nice weather, and
Also, just away from the diving, you're coming from an environment, say the UK, and you're coming in the heat of summer. It's not just the diving underwater, the heat is sapping your energy. You're not taking the right fluids on, the amount of fluids, it can all build up to a medical condition. You should be aware of all of these things, yes, for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I
Emmy.
enjoyed discussing this with you. It's
been a pleasure.
Hopefully, people will open a little bit their minds, think clearly, and don't take unnecessary risks in diving, and always go with the company of somebody who knows the area.
It's number one. If you go to London and you want to get across town, you go with someone who knows. That's a taxi.
For sure, for sure.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Super. Thank you very much.